stand. And of course, earlier this month, we got to celebrate our community with our awesome 15th annual Taste of South Tampa. We'd also like to invite our sponsors, committee members, and volunteers who are so instrumental in making the Taste of South Tampa a success. Please stand with me right now. Of course, events like these could not be possible without our sponsors. We'd like to ask our sponsors to please come up so they can introduce themselves. Today's sponsors are Connie Gage with Smith & Associates, Pro Kitchen Hub, and Breezin Entertainment.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm Connie Gage. I recently changed companies to Smith & Associates about 2 months ago. Still offer concierge real estate services to buyers and sellers. We also have an incredible relocation arm in our company. So if you have anyone out of state or just another city in Florida, we can help them buy, sell a home, and just all your needs can be met at our office. So I'm very happy to be there, and I'm especially proud to be a sponsor today with this woman speaking. I have so much respect and admiration for you and your husband, Michael. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Connie, and Kristen McKinney from Pro Kitchen Hub.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I own Pro Kitchen Hub Tampa, and we're a shared commercial kitchen that provides shared workspace for the food entrepreneurs in our area. We have about 5,000 square feet. We just recently opened up next door and added a bakery box pop-up, which allows a lot of our bakers to sell their products directly from a to-go window. And 2 of you will be getting gifts for that today. So I hope you come down and visit us. But we've been in business for 7 years, completely supported by the chamber, which I absolutely adore. And I'm looking forward to seeing them today. So thanks for having us.
Before I introduce our next sponsor, if you are not following the bakery pop-up box on social media, you need to make that a point to do that today, because they post what they are serving each and every day throughout the week. And there's very often that I have to make a trip after work on my way home to pick up some post treats when I see something special posted. So thank you so much, Kristen. And last but certainly not least, my friend Cindy Fairvich and Michael Fairvich with Breezin Entertainment.
How are you guys doing? So great to see so many people out here back at Double D events and something. So I'm very excited to hear Debbie speak. We always attend and stuff she's speaking. But I'm Michael Durf with Breezin Entertainment and Productions and Breezin Weddings. We are on the entertainment side, full-on event planning company that specializes in corporate events, weddings, and social gatherings. Anything from a band or DJ, cigar roller, live theater, arts and crafts, anything you can think of for events, we kind of handle. Then we also have a Breezin wedding side that covers everything from month of coordinating to full planning and partial planning. So if you guys know anyone that's trying to throw events, corporate events coming back, please give us a call. And anyone getting married, we'd love to help you guys out on your special events. So thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Connie Gage and Smith & Associates, Pro Kitchen Hub, and Breezin Entertainment for being today's sponsors. We'd also like to thank our media sponsor, the Tampa Bay Business Journal, and our signage sponsor, FastSigns. If you would like to sponsor a future luncheon, there's some information at registration. And for more information about our upcoming events, you can see Erica after the lunch or visit the South Tampa Chamber website. I would now like to introduce our Director of Membership and Community Development, Bo, who will share with you a little bit about what to expect coming up in the coming months with the South Tampa Chamber.
Hey, how's everybody going? Thanks, Kelly. As she mentioned, if I haven't met you before, my name is Bo. I am the Director of Membership and Community Development here at the Chamber. I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to be notified about our events coming up. As you can see up here on the screen, we have so many things coming online here this summer, a lot of opportunities for you to network and celebrate businesses. We had a ribbon cutting pretty much every week this month, and that's going to continue throughout the summer. So again, feel free to register online, and we look forward to seeing you soon. I would also like to welcome our new members from this past month. These past 3 months have been record membership months, and that's very encouraging to us, not only because it means that we're doing a really good job, but also it means that we're opening up again. And that should be encouraging to all of you who are business owners or are involved in the community. So if you are a new member or this is your first time attending one of our luncheons, please stand up. We want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the membership and tell us a little bit about your business. I know there are new people here because I saw that, so don't be shy, please. All right, going once, going twice. Thank you, Scott. Why don't you start us off?
Scott Dollar, one of the owners of Invincia Technologies, or IT services company. So IT, cloud, a lot of security these days. Everybody's heard about all the recent hacking, ransomware, and everything else. A lot of the services that provide to our customers. Long time coming, joining the South Tampa Chamber.
12 months, actually.
We know each other about 12 years.
Good, thanks, Scott. All
Connie Gage today. I own my own small business with a company called Abby. So if you're female or if you know a female, you might enjoy what I have to offer, which is I help women get dressed every day, beautiful clothes that are affordable and easy to put together from stylish. I would love to work with you or any of the women in your life. So if that's something you're interested in, I'd love to meet you. Thank you.
I see Debbie pointing at someone else. There we go.
Hi, I'm Barry. Tampa, located down here from Network, and we recommend that invite me here today. And I am interested in learning what everybody has to do to see if I can connect with the network. I'm here to be of service. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I am Christian today, and I am owner of FastSigns Cheesecake. We just opened our retail store in January, and we are a part of Kitchen Hub Tampa. I've been there for the majority of the summer. Yeah, all of this life is almost 6 years. So we are right South Tampa, 5224 South Middle Highway. Coming to that over on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
All right, let's move on to our renewals. So I can specifically remember a little over a year ago, our staff sitting in the boardroom and not really quite knowing how we were going to make it through this past year. But we know that we made it through this period because of all of our members and your continued support financially through your membership dues. So I just wanted to take some time and congratulate those folks who are celebrating your anniversary with us. Again, as I mentioned, your investment is just so important to us. And we look forward to serving everyone in the coming year. And please let us know if there's anything as a staff member that we can be doing for you or help you grow your business. I think we should all give everyone a applause. And I want to give a special thanks to those on top of their regular renewals who recently joined our 110% club. The 110% club is when members voluntarily contribute an extra 10% of their annual investment amount. This investment is extra investment. It helps the South Tampa Chamber continue to provide relevant programming. And again, it helps our chamber provide some stuff that we wouldn't normally be able to do. So again, I just want to thank those folks for giving a little bit extra to us here on the screen. And definitely last but not least, I want to thank our Chairman's Circle members. Since I've been here 2 years, our Chairman's Circle has grown almost double in size. And so again, that's a good indicator to us as a staff that we're providing good programming. So if you are interested in becoming Chairman Circle, please come talk to me. But I do want to thank especially those Chairman Circle members up here on the screen. And in particular, this past month, our new Chairman Circle member, CP Communications, they all invested in the chamber as a gold member. Tanya is here as one of the clients. We had a great party, it was so much fun. So thanks, Tanya, for that referral. And now it's Kelly's favorite time that she so graciously gave to me today. It's the Remember a Member. So if you have recently done business with another member, please stand and share. And again, for those who are joining us online virtually, feel free to share those experiences in the chat. Personally, yesterday, I had a Remember a Member moment. My dad, who's pretty old school, I took him to a trendy restaurant, Cali, in South Tampa, trying to expand his culinary interests. And we had a heck of a time. So I just want to give a special shout out to Cali, South Tampa. So if anyone else has a Remember a Member moment, please stand up and share that experience. I see Kevin in the back, so.
I have two Remember members. First of all, I would like to thank Mike Jenkins. It was about 80 degrees in my house the other day, and shortly thereafter it was not. So that was thanks in large part to it. I also want to give a shout out. I don't see you. Is anybody from Village Hall here? Don't see you. But my wife was looking to do like a little girls' weekend, and so I surprised her. We sent her and her girlfriend over there. They had a bottle of wine in their room. They had dinner set up for them. They had a banner waiting for them the next day. It was a really fantastic event for them. She loved it, and I got some major problems.
I'm Will Keller, I'm a leadership coach, and with my clients, I talk almost always on the first call about zapping toleration. So I decided to take some of my own coaching advice. And so with Dr. Kyle, I'm zapping my Achilles tendon, which has been hurting for a year, and it's hurting less after coming to him for just 3 sessions. We got a few more to go. So thank you, I really appreciate that. I get back to running and lose the COVID-10. And my garbage disposal, which has been shaking the sink out of its foundation for the last year. Bay Area Plumbing came and fixed just on Monday. Really quick service. They came the next day and really good, reasonable pricing. So I absolutely recommend them. And I was really glad to refer Susan on to Neelan to one of my own consulting clients, who is great at what they do in terms of their services, but we're like, I don't know about the whole finance and accounting and bookkeeping and all. And they had a really great meeting, so glad to do that. So it really makes it easy. I'm a new member, so thanks. Just keep it coming. I appreciate that.
The exchange. I would like to thank Susan Nealon for the referral that she sent me. She had a great business. We were able to get them set up with remote work, I believe, which was really cool. Is the client actually using South America, so we still have it set up for good services. Pretty neat. And thank you to Tanya for marketing the project for us, like literally all of one. We appreciate you so much, and everything going for us. And then thank you to Laura from Echo Beloved. That's dermatologist and founder and amazing, constantly for our community, and questions.
Don't talk enough about food, so. As I have 2 of them. One's Remember a guest of a member, and I was down visiting Kristen at Kitchen Hub, and she told me to go next door to Augustine's Cheesecakes. And while I'm not a sweet tooth, I brought some home for the family, and I tried them, and they were to die for. A lot of unique flavors that you don't think of in the cheesecake category. Try them out. The second one, I don't think Subash was here, but Flames. Our neighborhood, we often forget if we're not constantly reminded. So every time I go in there, we were just there last week again, and it's the best Indian food in my neighborhood. So I highly recommend it. Thanks.
Anybody else? Tanya?
Was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. Zero products available from Skydive, and people were still in low worry. And I reached out to the group here at Chamber, and I cannot leave it out. We have like one of the swag bags, have new varieties of color stuff for beaching, PDX stage, and there were just so many great things that we can generate for that. It made us look better. I was like, how do I give Shane a shout out? So we all just 5 or 6 of us here graduated yesterday from the Detroit Institute, and he's just such a great professor and leader. Thank you for the opportunity to take 3 courses, never been an MBA. The next one is September 16th. Every week, we got a little and jump her kindness thanks to Debbie. So I just want to thank you too for giving us that ray of sunshine.
All right, guys, thanks so much for doing business with one another. That's really what the chamber is about. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to Kelly to introduce our speaker.
Thank you so much, Bo, and thank you to everyone that's here today. I'm so excited for this presentation. It seems like it's been a long time coming. You know, it's always an honor to get to stand up here and introduce our speakers. You try to bring individuals to you that oftentimes need someone that you can't just call or pick up the phone and sit down and meet with. But today's a little bit different. You can call her, pick up the phone and sit down and meet with her. And it's one of the things that she does so well. But it's really special when I get to stand up here and introduce not only a chamber member and a community leader, but someone who's become a very dear friend of mine. Over the past decade, I think, we were chatting recently about how long we have known each other. We actually met right here at the Center Club when I was here as the director of events, and Debbie was a newer member. And so that friendship has carried through memberships and jobs and other experiences that we've shared together out at McDill and other places. And I don't want to share too much today because I don't want to take anything away from your presentation. I'm so excited because this is the first time I'm seeing it as well. But some of the things that you all may not know about Debbie that you have maybe heard in the news or in announcements this past year as our Citizen of the Year is that as we've all gone through this past year and the challenges that we've experienced, one of the very first phone calls that I received when we started to send out communications regarding office closures and COVID information, pandemic information, legislative information was from Debbie. And the phone call went like this: Kelly, what can I do to help you? What do you need as my friend, as a community leader? What does your staff need? How can I support you? I can come in, I can answer phones, I can call members, I can answer emails. What do you need? And number 3, what does our business community need? What do our members need? Do I perhaps have a skill set that might be beneficial during this time that I can help and give back to our community that's given so much to me? And we received the more than 150 virtual opportunities that the chamber has put forth this past year, in large part that is due to the assistance that Debbie provided, because she provided training and coaching for our staff behind the scenes, in addition to those things that you saw frontward facing. So thank you, Debbie, for everything that you've done this past year for the South Tampa Chamber and for our business community at large. You guys are going to get to hear a little bit more about that today. But without further ado, you are not here to hear me talk, you're here to hear Debbie talk, and so I'm going to introduce her. She is our 2021 South Tampa Chamber Citizen of the Year. She comes to us as the founder and CEO of Presenting Powerfully, an 11-time published author who is going to donate 10% of her book sales today, by the way, to our Student Scholarship Fund. A podcast host, a performance coach. Please welcome Debbie Lundberg.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And really appreciate being here at the membership luncheon and being your South Tampa Chamber Member of the Year and Citizen of the Year. It has been a super experience, as you can imagine, with everybody outreaching. So keeping in line with that,
idea of super, and hi to everybody on Zoom as well. If you could have your very own superpower, what would it be? Anybody, what would your superpower be if you could have one? Flight. So flying, anybody else think flying would be pretty cool? Yeah, pretty cool, right? Other things, what would you like as your superpower if you could have one? Mind reading. The mind reading one is always quiet, by the way. They're like, mind reading, right? Mind reading seems good. Let's hear a third. Thank you. What's another one that you would like to have?
See the future.
See the future, right? So you can know what's going to happen. Well, of course, it would be great to fly and read minds and see the future. But imagine if every single one of us, when I asked that, said, I'd like my superpower to be kindness. What would that look like? And importantly, what would it feel like for all of us? So it would be awesome, right? That's true. I love that you said that. So kindness is super, and I hope you agree that kindness is in fact a super experience. So it is a superpower. It's kindness, it's kind, it's super, it's powerful. And so kindness is a superpower is a bit of a theme that some of you, the 6 of you who have graduated, Jim Moran Institute, who thanks Tanya was kind enough to share about it, know that it's a thrill to be here. And if I were to name this instead, I may call this instead of our membership luncheon, I may say have the kind of year you want. And I'd extend it even beyond that to say have the kind of life you want. Because it's really what happens as we go through our experiences. And I'm truly honored to be recognized among so many people who did so much for the community this year, including so many of you in this room. So as we look at this, the goal is really just consider what happens when you're kind and the value of being kind and how when you implement that, can you take a journey back with me over the last year to move forward to create the year you'd like or the life you'd like? Does that sound okay? All right, sounds good. Okay, so by the numbers, so you know, in hindsight, as we look back at the year, Friday the 13th is normally one of my favorite days of the year. For 17 years, I've hosted a spa party that includes massages and psychic readings and all sorts of fun. And Friday the 13th of this year was when Mike and I got really acquainted, Mike Jenkins and I, we knew each other because we had no air and the country had shut down, right? And so at that point, my attitude was, we got a couple of weeks of this will be interesting, right? And we're gonna wait till we have the best system set up so that we can get our Calico system in, so we're okay. And then here's what happened. Nearly immediately, I had 28 business engagements canceled. Those flights, gone. Then I only in the past year had 4 in-person client engagements. A lot of you know I typically travel about 65% and deliver over 200 times a year. So you can imagine what that was like. And then I only had $2,000 in new business in 6 months. There's a couple zeros missing, by the way, but that's legit. And some of you have heard me say that because I think there's no shame in how we experienced the pandemic. And what we did with it is what really matters. So then I had 6 personal trips refigured, and Michael's here, who's like the master trip planner. We usually take 8 trips a year, and we love that. A lot of you know we're very competitive. So that was pretty unusual for us to not do that. And then both of our fathers passed during that time. So I had this one chance to find the silver lining in all of these numbers, in all of the experience that happened. And I thought, I know a lot of people like to say things happen for a reason. Sometimes you're in the reason and you're like, I don't really understand the reason this is happening. It's just happening. At the same time, Kelly shared some of that. I decided kindness is my superpower. And because I didn't want it to be phony or false, you notice I don't say niceness is my superpower, because it's not. It's kindness. And we're going to talk about the difference in that. So the kindness approach is, at first we have to be kind to ourselves. We think about people who give, and sometimes they're not kind to themselves. And if we're not kind to ourselves, we don't have 100% to draw from and to give. Then we can be kind toward others, which allows us to be kind in our community. And eventually, how we're kind in those ways to ourselves, to others in our community, believe it or not, the things we do in South Tampa, Florida can generate kindness toward the world. And it's not a lofty thing to say or a goofy thing to say, it's true. And here's how I can prove it. So we'll go through this, the roadmap, and those of you in Jim Moran Institute said, oh, this is what we did. This is different, but wait, there's more, right? So 4 things I'll share with you today. The K is keep up with yourself. And there's a lot that goes into that. The I is interact sincerely with others. I don't just mean meet someone and shake their hand now that you can, but how do we really connect with people? The N is nudge past nice. Some of you follow me on social media and you know that it's coming up in the presentation. I am not on a mission to nix nice. I am on a promotion of kindness, and the difference will be shared soon. And the D is do something bigger than yourself. So these are the 4 things we'll cover. You do have a card in front of you. Thank you, Linda, for putting those out. That was thoughtful. So when you have the card, if you choose to play along, Shane likes to say, for those of you at the home game, but we're right here in person now. But for those of you at home, we have these cards. If you'd like to join in, there's a little bit of action here. So you can put a K, an I, an N, or a D on there. And we'll walk through this together. So let's jump in and keep up with yourself. What do I mean by that? Well, when you keep up with you, there are 4 key aspects to how we are as a human being. And so it goes to rest, to fuel, to movement, and to mindset. And so if you think about back on the year, I go to rest. It wasn't the easiest thing to sleep. Michael can tell you, I usually just recharge. She swears I don't sleep. It's like I plug in and come back like this. And yet I found that it was challenging because I was thinking about myself, us, our trips, all of you, and that call that I made to Kelly, she really described that. I was thinking, how can this impact us? And what can we do? So it was really important to make sure there was rest. And you notice I don't say sleep because it's okay. Of course we want to sleep. And you can't outrun sleep. But sometimes you want to rest your mind, you want to rest your body, and allow it to really recharge, so to speak. So I am not shy to say, nobody's here today, I don't think, but I've been to all of our CBD members. I can stand up and do a remember. And I also think people think, oh, I don't know if I should say that. It's like, hey, I went and I said, I'm having some challenges, and I don't usually have this. And Michael and I went together. And I also think utilize your resources for your rest. It's not that, hey, I just don't sleep anymore. And then fuel, what are you feeding your body? And it's not that I'm here to talk about nutrition, but a lot of you know I have a lot of food allergies. And so it can be really tempting when things are down or off or strange to just go for that comfort. And yet I thought if I fuel my body well, then I can get that rest. Then it'll be different how I present myself to people who can really utilize this. Because I was fortunate. I was in a position that I could move forward with my business even without the revenue. And then the movement. Now, some of you have commented on and even asked about it today, so thanks. So on that Friday the 13th, when we thought it was 2 weeks, I said, hey, to my running partner, how about we do 10,000 steps before sunrise? This will be fun, right? So 100 days later and 1 million steps later, I was like, yeah, we might want to dial this back a little bit, right? But each day posting a picture, not of us, but of something on Bayshore or a cool sign or somebody with their dog. And I found from so many of some of you and others that it was really inspirational and got them moving. We were just talking about it with Rita at the table about what walking and running can do for you. And so that movement, even if you are working remotely, to get up and to move around and not feel stuck. Because if a stuck body can feel like a stuck mind, which takes me to mindset. And the mindset part is often the most powerful. And in the mindset, I would think to myself every day, okay, what do I want? What will I do? And who am I? And some of you know this. I say it's a great personal pep talk. If I said today, I want connection, I will engage fully because I am a concerned and interested human being, then you just set your intention for the day. So the whole mindset aspect of it's so tempting to say, oh, last year was terrible. Now don't lie to yourself. But instead, if you say last year was a learning experience, then your mindset is about what you learned, not what you lost. And so mindset plays huge for all of us, and it certainly did for me. So I encourage you to think about, what will you do to keep up with you? If you're playing the in-room game or the at-home game, take a second and write down something you'll do, either about your rest, your nourishment, your movement, or your mindset, and commit to do that, because it will make a difference. All right, so I'm not putting anybody on the spot, but I know Shane would tell me if I ask. So, all right, so I interact sincerely with others. This one, when we're talking about a chamber, and especially our South Tampa chamber, where we are really truly interested in knowing each other's names and businesses, you might think, okay, well, how is this different this year? Well, it really was over the past year. And by the way, when I say year, I mean 15 months, because everything in the pandemic is just a year, right? However long it goes, we're calling it a year. I just love that. People are like, oh, the year. Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. So I managed these Zoom sessions, and how that was interacting sincerely with people was sending them a message to say, you may or may not realize that we can't see you because of your lighting. I didn't say, hey, turn your light on. It's also saying to somebody, please unmute instead of you're on mute. And it's that perspective of engaging with people and sending them a private message sometimes so they're not embarrassed. And so Zoom had a lot of fun and funnies with it, but I happened to be using it with the Florida Bar for years. And so I had a leg up, and I thought, I knew what some people are going to do. You know, yes, Judge, I'm here and I'm not a cat, was not one of my clients. So anyway, I checked in with people very earnestly, and I sent video messages. And some of you got video messages from Michael and me. I see you nodding your head to say hello or congratulate you. And it might not have been the best lighting, and we may or may not have had a glass of champagne before we did it. But at the same time, we were having fun saying, we can't see you. We want you to know that we're thinking about you. And because the pandemic's gone, it doesn't mean we're going to stop doing that, by the way. So you may still get one of those from us. And I amped up the Business of Life Masterclass. Rita's been on, Kelly's been on. We've had outstanding guests, and my podcast partner, Barb Zant, who would be here, she's at EntreLeadership right now, getting some more learning too. We said, we have this chance to get some people who we always had done in-person interviews. And we said, what about inviting people from around the country or the world and having new guests for our listeners? And what fun it's been. If you don't listen, it's a shame, by the way, it's a shame. So whether you listen or not, we still ask for the same questions of every one of our guests. And then we implement what they do, and we report back to say whether it worked or not. And so it's something that we hadn't seen on podcasts before. And what fun it is to sometimes get up and eat what people eat in the morning that are different than what we do, and do things to see if we can learn and grow ourselves. And then I just gave away content. And when I say gave away content, I mean, Kelly talked about it. The first one I did was 2 weeks in, how to work remotely. And it was from how to set up your camera and what to do. But I ended up, and you'll see, I'll give you some numbers at the end, I just kept thinking people would be struggling. And they said, we don't know about our budget. And a lot of you are aware, I don't believe in discounting. I believe in a consideration, and I believe in the integrity of my business. So instead of saying, okay, well, we'll do something inexpensively, I said, and Michael and I talked about it, I said, I just like to give everything away. Because if we do that, if I do that, nobody doesn't have the opportunity to engage with others sincerely and to present themselves the best. So in my practice, presenting powerfully, the tagline is, how you present is how you are remembered. And I would love it if everybody, when they're in Teams or Facebook or Zoom or on the phone or in person, felt like they could feel as good as possible. Be your best. Don't compete against somebody else, but be your best. So I started reaching out to clients and people who were asking and saying, can I do this? And Pilot Bank let me do it. We had a good time. Custom was on there. I did it with Akash and Elevate Inc. And the joy that comes from interacting sincerely with people and answering those questions where sometimes somebody says, I feel like I should know how to do this, but I'm not really sure how to X. And it was safe and it was fun. And it made me feel as though there was a lot of value, even if there weren't dollars associated with it. And a lot of you know that from your businesses. So then I mailed a lot of cards, and I'll give you the numbers later because the US Post Office may be sending us a Christmas card this year. But we have and it's AG Gold, I believe, they're not here today, but they're a member, and they weren't a member at the time. They were doing the pet photos. And if any of you have followed Daisy and Lexi on social media, they're cute. They don't comply a lot, but they're very, very cute. So here it was, those drive-by your neighborhood, and they'd stop to take your picture, and you were supposed to be like really looking good on your porch with your dogs, and then a dog came out across the street, which caused Daisy to go crazy. But if you got that photo in the mail with a little note from us, it was to say, hey, we're thinking about you, and maybe I didn't have your text or your email, but somehow I could get it to you or your business to say, hey, this is our summer, let's make the most of what we have. So those handwritten cards are something that they're not antiquated. They're special because we don't see them as much, but they're never, ever, ever out of style. And then I would set my intention, and I mentioned that about mindset. So I would come back from our 10,000 steps to sunrise, which felt like it might never end, but we were always done before 6 a.m., by the way, because we started at 5. And I'd set the intention for the day, as I mentioned. And a lot of times I would listen to a TED Talk when I was getting ready. And then I started that as that habit. I used to love them. Now I really, really enjoy them for the way that it impacts your day. So how you start your day is often how you end your day. And how you end your day is often how you start the next. So I encourage you to think about what is your intention for the day, not to get through it, but to live it fully. And then I sought those positives and inspiration. I would go on to social media and look for everybody's cool pictures. I really don't understand the fear of missing out. Michael and I had a good conversation about that. He asked me, do you have that? Because sometimes we don't get to go to things. I can't appreciate it. I can be so happy for the rest of you when you're having a good time, whether we're there or not. So I would look for people who were doing things that were very exciting. Breezin Entertainment would be hosting things. They had a DJ. It was about music and how we could dance. And I've danced in my office a few times to it. But it was all about how can I go find things that are positive? Because I could have found a bunch of negatives. I had 16 blisters, by the way, during that. I've never shared that with anybody. During that 10,000 steps to sunrise, 16 of them. I've got tons of bandages in my car to prove it. But it's like, just figure it out, right? There's good stuff out there. It was a pretty sunrise. And then I addressed those who sought negativity. And this one, I put it last on purpose because it really was that time to say, you know what, I don't want to talk to people. I do want to talk to people, but I don't want to talk to somebody who's like, oh, and then this happened, and oh, it was terrible, or oh, this was a mess. It's like, well, what did you do about it? So instead of the nice thing of saying, oh yeah, that's too bad, I started saying, while it's interesting to you, please know that there's so many other things we could be talking about. But if you'd like to talk about something different, I'm happy to, otherwise, let's not. I started to really, and a lot of you know me, I'm not the least confident person in the world, so I don't have an issue saying to people my opinions, but I also know that everybody doesn't have to have the same opinion I do. When I started doing that with some people who seemed close, some people chose to change and they felt inspired by it, and others felt offended. And yet, I'm glad for who I have around me because it's so intentional that it was, yeah, I don't want that. I get it, my little joke, some of you know it, I'm like, I know that the back of my hair never looks that great. You can talk about it, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. It's okay, but please don't talk about somebody who just did something and they missed one thing and you're just gonna nitpick it. It's just not, there's not enough time in our world to fit that in, let alone during the pandemic. So I ask you, what will you do specifically now to interact with other people sincerely? Will it be about complimenting somebody and thanking them? Will it be about setting a boundary? I encourage you to think about that for what you want to do moving forward, because that's the I. And so you can imagine, as that last one I share with you about making sure that people were not seeking out that negativity is nudge past nice. And I thought about this and thought, the whole idea of being nice is if I say, hey, Preston, how are you? And he says, what? He's great. Oh, really? Well, I gotta go. So I'm glad he didn't have anything else he really wanted to talk about. Or he goes, I'm great, but he's not. So I thought, it's nice to say, how are you? It's nice to say fine. It's nice to say good job if somebody does something, but it's not kind. It's not kind to make those superficial movements. So as I mentioned, I'm not on a mission to eliminate niceness. I'm on this campaign for kindness. True, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything, but how about if you don't have anything kind and you don't do anything? I'd rather you don't. And when you nudge past nice, you see Lexi and Daisy up there. Here are some of the things that I thought were kind to share during the pandemic. We commentated the dog food eating contest, and some of you commented right back. And yes, Lexi won it, but now she's on senior dog food. That's the reason we don't still do it. So we had it each night, right? It was like Daisy and Lexi were out at the pool, and it's like, let's see. And it was so much fun. And the reason I say this is nudge past nice is it was all about people simply having a good time, watching for the week and figuring out who could eat the food the fastest. And the kindness about it wasn't like, look how cool our dogs were. I mean, Daisy one time left and came back and pushed Lexi out of the way. And it's like, well, that's who they are, right? It was that whole, have a little bit of fun with something that's simple. And then I did ask, how are you? And I really listened. And a lot of you have heard me say, don't ask how are you unless you A, care, and B, you have at least 10 minutes. Sometimes you say to me, how are you? I say, good, thanks. And I walk on because I don't have the time allotted to invest in it. I'm not going to falsely do that. So that's what I mean by the how are you? Because if Preston and we know each other and I pick up on something, I can say, you know what? I see in your eyes something. Am I wrong? I don't want to don't say, oh, you look tired, you look bad. Not that. But really listen to what people are saying or not saying sometimes. You don't look tired either. All right. And I included others in Remote Work Rockstar. Thanks to a lot of you, you purchased it and we have it here. And Kelly mentioned any of the books, of all of the books that I have available. I'm happy for you to have them for $10 and we'll give a portion of it, 10% of it to our scholarship fund. Because all of you have been so interested in the Remote Work Rockstar book. It's been really fun. And then I thought about it that Barb, who I mentioned earlier, she'd asked me a lot of questions about remote work. And she gives me permission to say this. And some of them are crazy. Like seriously, someone's in bed on a meeting. She's like, what do I do? I'm like, turn off their video, right? And so she said, you can write a book with all of this. And I said, I will if you want to be part of it. Because I knew it was in her vision board. I knew it was part of her plan. I knew that she wanted to do it. And she was included. And when you include others, they don't write the same or think the same or speak the same as you do. And yet they get a voice. And also having other people who contributed and were part of, we did the book signing and the ribbon cutting remotely, and a lot of you participated. And having that was a lot of joy for saying, it's not about the book being some bestseller, it's about how this information can bring us together. And then I gave a TED Talk called Who Cares? And that might seem strange, but it was less than 8 weeks after I got out of the hospital, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And also, the reason it was kind is because almost everybody else who'd been selected for giving TED Talks said, I don't want to do it. There's not going to be a live audience. And I'm not knocking them because you will learn that I sincerely mean that my way can be right and your way can't be right, and neither of us are wrong. At the same time, I thought about FastSigns and how much work she'd done. And I said to her, what would be best for you and for TEDx West Shore? Would it be best if I did it with no audience to a camera in a studio? And she said it would. So I was like, all right, let's do it. And so it's really interesting to see the response to the who cares, because leaders care. And some of you know this, I say this, is communication, appreciation, reciprocation, and expectations. And if we can apply that in all situations, we can show that we are the ones who care. And that does really matter. So that TED Talk wasn't how I envisioned it. And yet, it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun to get to do. And lo and behold, I get to host the TED Talks this next year. And then I encourage people to not simply say, let me know what I can do, but much like what Kelly said, it's like, here's what I can do. Here are my skill sets. Here's what I can do. And going through the losses that we did, and going through some other things, a lot of people say, let me know what I can do. And then they're gone. And then believe it or not, sometimes those same people came back to me over the past year and said, you never let me know what I could do. And I was like, yeah, thanks for giving me a to-do about what you can do, right? And so while we think it's really a great thing to say, the kindest thing is to say, I can do this. Michael's a great cook. If anything ever happens, I will call you and say, would you like Michael to make you a meal and I will deliver it? I am really good at picking up your laundry and taking it to Zips, right? So, but I know my lane. And so when you're thinking about that, even if it's awkward, if you say, can I do X? Can I mow your lawn? Can I do this? Can I hire somebody to do that? Can I have something specific? Because the specifics stand out. And not because you want accolades, but because you want to have an impact on what that person's going through. And then I created this kindness as a leadership trait course and reached out to Shane, and Shane was kind enough to allow me to do it. Now, he didn't know if I was going to be some lunatic at 8 in the morning on every Tuesday, or if we were going to have the kickoff to kindness, right? Which is what it became. It became this kickoff. And Tanya mentioned it, and congratulations to those of you who are here who went through it. But that kindness as a leadership course, as a leadership trait, I didn't know where it was going to go. It's just I knew that if we really looked at leadership, that a big part of it is how do we engage with others as a human being? And I say the difference in a human being and a humane being is that E of empathy. And that's a lot what kindness is. And so we had a lot of fun with that. I graduated yesterday. And then shared video messages across social media. And believe it or not, a lot of the clients who now are part of what I do have come to me because, yes, every single day I've written a Lundbergism, which is a consideration for the last 10 years. For the whole time we've known each other and I've known a lot of you, I started putting them on video for a couple of reasons. Video is a medium that people appreciate and like and respond to. It was also a reason to get up and make sure I was dressed and ready every single day, which is part of what I share in the World Work Rockstars. Be video ready. I don't mean vanity ready. I mean prepared, that you don't have to say, oh, I'd like to get on a video, but put your best self forward. And some of the videos, you'll see I make mistakes, and I don't redo them because it's a message for a minute or less about encouragement. And that's that aspect of nudging past nice to the kindness of how can people implement it? Because people say, well, how did you do that? And I would say to people, that's how I think. It's like I can really explain it in these little nuggets. So that was a lot of fun. And then made the food pantry contributions. Breezin Entertainment every Monday. Every Monday they would have this. And I was like, we're getting stuff and going over there. And it was a lot of fun. I looked forward to it every Monday. We do a little feed on Facebook, even driving through, knowing that there were people who could really utilize this food. And it was a matter of going and delivering it. And that was it. I mean, you guys would take good care of it from there. So all of these things are the nudge past nice, and you'll know yours. You really will, because it'll be something that you've been thinking about and you stopped because you thought someone might think it's weird or someone might say no. And if they do, it's okay. Because it's not about how they respond, it's about that you gave. So what will you do to nudge past nice? I encourage you to think of one thing. Is it a phone call? Is it a text that says, you are someone who is really important to me because, and you just let that float out there? Is it a compliment? Is it a thank you to somebody who doesn't usually get it? But watch what happens when you nudge past nice. So the last one is D, do something bigger than yourself. And in this, I share with you a little bit before I tell the story, but have you ever heard really good music, speaking of Breezin, and you went up and put a tip in the jar? Has anybody ever done that? Right, you heard a singer or some music or something? Yeah, it's fun, right? You're like, we're going up there right now, right? You're like, and then they don't see you give the tip, and it still counts, by the way. It still does. It still does. Have you ever donated to charity or GoFundMe? Anybody done that? I've seen how people have continued to do that through the pandemic. Now I'm going to ask everybody to close your eyes for this one, but still respond, but you might want to peek. Have you ever re-gifted anything? Like you got a present And as soon as you got it, you were like, I don't really like it, but I know that a casual thing is perfect, right? Anybody ever done it? Yeah, we have. And then there's that intrigue of when you give it to the person, you're like, did I take the card out? Are they gonna know? Did I have anything on social media? Yeah, did it have the price tag? All of that, right? So a lot of us have done it. Well, imagine if you could do that with your body. Now, I don't mean that weird, oh my God, I woke up in a bathtub in some seedy motel with a note that said, hey, you took your kidney, you better get to the hospital. I don't mean anything like that. No, that would be crazy. That's one of those old wives' tales that some of us have heard. I just mean that if you do something bigger than yourself, could you donate blood? Could you be a donor, an organ donor? I call it donor upon death. They don't love that I say that, but donatelife.net. Or you could give a liver or a kidney as a living donor. And that's what I happen to choose to do. So before those steps, though, I encourage you to please don't ever ask somebody who gives blood, chooses to donate bone marrow, a kidney, whatever. Don't feel like, why would you do that? Because it makes people feel defensive. And some of you have heard me say repeatedly, if we replace why questions with what and how, it makes a conversation versus defensiveness. Now, if somebody says, like, what made you do that? That's a story. If somebody says, how did you come to do that? That's a journey. But why did you do it? Makes somebody go, like, let me defend this. So please don't. You don't have to ask us. I think it's strange. And people will say that's the most selfless act they've ever heard of. And I appreciate that. You're not wrong, certainly. I feel like it's more a self-aware act. If you become aware that your body has been housing a couple of things that you don't really need, somebody else, by the way, 13 people a day who die not to get a kidney, then you go, I'm aware that I can do this myself. And so it is something that's a choice. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but it can be something that from self-awareness you decide. And then please skip the you're a better person than I am. Because I'm not. And none of us who do it are. And I can appreciate it's a compliment, but please don't ever think that if you don't do it, that I would ever think less of somebody. Because I've been mentoring people, and that's what I tell them. Number one, I'll answer all your questions. Number two, if you decide not to do it, I will not judge you. Because kindness, the way I see it, and I hope you do too, is kindness is where we sit in assessment and learning, not judgment. Not judgment and determining for other people, but it's this great opportunity to assess and learn and grow. So here's what happened. So yep, I saw the post on Facebook. That's what happened. Some of you know it's Deborah Palmer. She was part of the South Tampa Chamber. What some of you may not know is I've never ever had a conversation with her yet beyond a hello at one of these events. And she'd seen me speak before and she friended me on Facebook. And then we really hadn't had any other engagement. I admired her, appreciated her, loved that she contributed tons to the community, but it was one of those hello, and we were usually volunteering at different parts of the room. So I saw the post and I thought, wow, I didn't know this person had been having these challenges for 24 years. So I made my move right here in this room. We were at the same table with the appreciation for volunteers. And I said, hey, Deborah, I know that you have this dining with Deborah. Perhaps we could go to the chamber members' lunch and get acquainted. And that was in December, late November, December. It took until February before we actually had the meeting. So we were at the lunch and I learned a bit about Deborah's business. And at the end, I asked, it wasn't like, hey, I'm thinking about this. I really thought, and Michael can tell you that this is the way it went. I was like, I want to encourage this woman. She seems like a nice person. You know, perhaps I can give her some encouragement, learn a little bit about it, see if what I could do for my skill sets back to that. And then I was on the plane the next day, and I was frustrated that I'd given blood, and I knew my blood was either A positive or B positive, because that was part of the joke with my brothers. Like, of course yours is positive, right? And so I ordered a kit you can get for $9.99. You can type in Amazon blood type testing. $9.99, right? I got back the next day from Texas and there was the kit. And Michael goes, I just wheeled my little wheelie. I was like, oh, my kid's here. And I went into the bathroom. Never thought the story was going to go bathroom, right? But I went into the bathroom and did the blood prick and figured out, hey, okay, here's my blood type. I didn't even have Deborah's phone number. I was like, well, how can I tell her? but she'd taken a picture from the lunch for her dining with Deborah. And I scrolled and found the picture and sent back on that and said, here's my blood type, will this work? As though having a matching blood type was the solution. And that started another journey. And so then I went through the testing, and I went through the testing alone because it was the pandemic. I happened to blurt out to Kelly, who was one of the only people who knew that I went and got the blood testing because we were having ribbon cutting. And when you do blood testing, it's like when you give blood and then you have a glass of wine. It's like you get 8 glasses of wine and you start saying things. And I said it, and Kelly, you probably remember, I was like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. And I was like, I'm so excited. No, please don't say anything. Like, it's such a long shot, right? And so going through the tests alone, I happened to donate a kidney. And after that, it's about, Michael and I were talking about this, it's about 30 some tests that you go through. During the pandemic, you go through it by yourself with a mask, and it's a little bit strange. But at the same time, I didn't know any difference. It's not like I've donated the kidney before, so I wasn't missing out. It's not like I'm going to donate one again so many years later, right? So I donated the kidney. And a lot of you know the story. Deborah's doing really well. I'm doing really well. And it seemed like there was so much positivity in our community. And Florida Observer picked it up and all sorts of shows. And it was just like outstanding. I didn't realize that that was the start. Because after that, I learned it was so much bigger. So I mentioned that people started reaching out and asking me about what does it take to donate a kidney and how did I decide to do it. And then we got involved with this group called Kidney Donor Athletes, who knew that existed, right? And then they wanted me to be a featured athlete. And they wanted me to contribute to their information. And then Tampa General Hospital said, hey, Debbie, we're getting what we call the Debbie effect. People come in and they call and they say, is that lady Debbie like really okay? Like she recovered and she did this? And I said, yeah. I said, really seeing something here. And I don't share this with you because it's the Debbie effect. I just thought it was funny that they said this. They said, we pick one person each year who had surgery here. We ask them to tell their story to our entire surgical team of about 600, 900 people. Will you do it? But will you do it remotely? So, yeah, of course. Can my husband come? And they were like, oh, okay. I said, believe it or not, my husband's never met the surgeon who took my kidney and allowed somebody else to have that. And I was like, oh yeah, like we'll figure this out in the COVID protocol. So Michael got to go, and Dr. Wong, who's a wonderful surgeon, horrible with jokes. So by the way, my thank you gift to him was a dad joke book, just hoping it would get better. So as Michael sat there and I told my story, Dr. Wong told his story, Michael started to realize a lot of the stats. And he mentioned that 13 people a day. So Michael said to me, when we retire, I'm going to take my PTO and I'm going to do it, right? But then the pandemic continued and he said, I think I'll do it right now. And so wouldn't you know it, of all the people I got to mentor through it, my husband was the first one who donated. So thank you. So anyway. We're very competitive. So, as you think about this kindness approach, you can start to see how if you're kind toward yourself and then you're kind toward others, you start to really think about your community, and then you don't know, or the world. The person who received Michael's, we don't know who that is, except we know this. They asked the nurse to call, and I happened to be there because it was the pandemic and we were together, of course. And they asked us to say thank you. Now we know that it's a man and we know that he's younger than Michael is. And they said, we're going to plan our lives now because we thought he was going to die this year. And we never made plans. And that's a big difference in the way it works. So you never know what's going to happen in the world. So with that, what will you do? And please don't think I'm saying, oh my gosh, I gotta donate a kidney. But it's like, is there something you can do that's bigger than you? Is there a place that you go past that you think you could volunteer? Is there an organization that you could give of your time and talent? And I ask you to think about what's something you could do that's a little bit bigger than you that might impact people. So this journey that we just went on that you allowed me to share with you for the first time is make sure that you please keep up with you. You matter. You absolutely are important. And if you keep up with yourself, we get more of you. interact sincerely with others, and that can mean being appreciative. It can also mean setting boundaries and really honoring that for yourself and for them. And nudge past the nice and make sure that that thought of, oh, I'll be nice and do this becomes, let me be kind and not take credit. And the D, do something bigger than yourself. A lot of you see the Lundbergisms, and some of you got a little tiny sneak peek of this yesterday when I let the cat out of the bag. But as I black the screen for just a second, I encourage you to think that if you do a kind act because you want praise or attention, that's called showmanship. If you do a kind act because you want somebody to sign a contract or introduce you to someone, that's called business. If you do a kind act because you want another person to have a better experience, whether they know it was from you or not, that is true kindness. So we can all remember that our goal is to value what being kind means and how when we do that, we can have not only the year we want, but the life we want. And so with that, here's a better view of the year by the numbers. A little less doom and gloomy. So I did those 78 complimentary sessions for organizations. I wrote one book, 50 rounds of golf played, by the way, because you could during the pandemic. At first, we weren't sure if we could even go into the restrooms, but we figured it out, right? And some of you know that whoever loses mows the lawn at our house. So it really is competitive. 500 plus cards mailed. And that idea of writing